So after they talk about the fast tracking and the strolling thing, they talk about class. So Catherine is this female knight who focuses on sword and fighting. So again, seems like different teachers focus on different things. So long story short, you can spend your stroll gauge on learning from professors, and you can also pick 5 other students to come with you. So there's this maximum number of 6. You can use your stroll gauge to get extra teaching in. So where the mess hall builds motivation, taking these classes with other professors, helps with the weapon proficiencies and that kind of thing. So they kind of fall hand in hand. So it's a pretty nice balance, I would say. So the cool thing about this as well is that as these students are being really, really successful in this class, they're also gaining motivation as well. So that might help for future classes because their motivation's already really good. I remember from the last video or from the last couple articles in the past that when they increasing professor levels for your students, their motivation declined by like -25. But here it seems to be doing the opposite. I guess it kind of sets them up for a really positive week of your own teaching. Venture is the next gauge / mechanic this article talks about. This is the final activity you can choose during weekends. You can go out of battle and do optional skirmishes. Each skirmish has a suggested level, so it's a good idea to carefully raise your characters so they can handle skirmishes and, more importantly, a mandatory battle at the end of each season. What Famitsu's saying, if you're playing on normal difficulty, there's always going to be an optional skirmish that doesn't consume the venture gauge, whereas on hard mode, there won't be an optional skirmish there, so everything will cost a venture gauge. So that's how they're kind of balancing. So on normal, you can keep grinding and grinding and grinding, whereas on hard, you kind of have limited options and it's more linear that way, which I think is a fair balance. I'm intending to play on hard mode because usually when it comes to new Fire Emblem games, I like to play on hard or lunatic if I'm on conquest, which was kind of a crazy idea, but I did survive that one. When they talk about certain field studies, like for example the Magdred surprise attack, so there might be an implication here when it says the Adrestian and Fergus border where this Magdred fight is happening. There might be some fighting between the bigger places in this world. So we have Adrestia and Fergus. If there's a conflict between the Empire and the Kingdom, what does that mean for the characters that we do play with? And is there going to be a lot of border fights, or is there going to be some wars waging between these giant 3 territories that are going to be part of the ongoing conflict that is this game? There's also some other field studies that are mentioned, like the skirmish, that is the Grandor Griffin battle, which is the field study for the 10th month. Battle of the Week, Have-Nots, Kingdom Nobles Marriage, which are side quests here. So what I find really, really cool about these paralogs and these certain side quests, not only does it involve students from other houses, but it adds a lot of personality to these characters. As we can see with the Dorothea and Ingrid screenshot, what's going on here is that apparently an emergent nobleman has offered a marriage proposal to Ingrid, but once Dorothea discovers his name, she openly opposes the proposal. Dorothea asks Ingrid if she wants to rebuild her family using blood-stained money. That's going to give a lot of personality to these characters that maybe the supports won't do enough. Typically with Fire Emblem side characters, the only characterization they do get is like from their own chapter or supports. But now that these paralogs seem to be focusing more on like the characters themselves rather than just kind of random story events that happened on the side like guidance, that's going to be really, really cool to see how deep some of these characters go. A lot of the characters that we've seen already, and I'm going to make a video on this separately, are oozing with characterization. This is going to further add to that, and I'm really excited about these paralogs and these side quests. Although the kind of limitation with this is same thing with the venture gauges being kind of limited. Are we going to have to spend our venture gauge on certain paralogs versus other ones? And apparently there is an expiration on some of these side quests. I guess one of my other concerns could be that since we have to manage our venture gauges, obviously the field study doesn't take a venture gauge, but these paralogs do. And if we're starting from the beginning, I guess we're going to have to manage and pick which paralogs that we think is going to work best for us. And I'm assuming as we progress through the map, we'll be able to do more paralogs in the same, like we'll be able to do more paralogs over the weekend than before. There does seem to be expirations on some of these side quests, so if we put them off for too long, I guess they go away. I guess what I'm wondering next is if they show up later on in the chapter, or is it kind of like, if we don't do these paralogs now, we'll have to wait till our next playthrough to do them. And if that's the case, I don't really care. Again, this game has a bunch of replayability. If we're going to interact with students from other houses, then I'm imagining that some of these paralogs are going to stay, even if we choose a different house. So like, even if Dorothea and Ingrid are from different houses, if we pick the blue lions rather than the red eagles, the black eagles, we'll still be able to play those maps even with different houses that we're picking, that kind of thing. There's a second paralog that has to do with terror exterminations, and there's an implication here that terrors are making a return from echoes. The story goes that Ignace is from a merchant family, while Raphael used to be from one, before his parents both died. Within the Alliance's territory, merchants just keep getting attacked by terrors, so the pair head to fix the situation. We learn that Raphael's parents were slaughtered by terrors during a business trip. So terrors seem to be a kind of a built-in thing in the story. We haven't really seen anything about terrors yet. There was the Black Beast from the early trailer. But yeah, just like before, like, not only are these characters going to have their own supports, their own moments with Byleth, but they're also going to have their own paralogs too. So it seems like, and you know I'm a character guy, so if this is kind of the theme for this game, then yeah, I'm all for it. I'm really excited, and being able to manage your venture gauge to pick which character you want to focus on given the month sounds like a really fun thing to do, and adds, again, lots of depth and replayability. I think it's completely fine that the venture gauge is limited and you might not be able to do all the paralogs in 1 month. Or maybe you will be able to. I'm not really sure about that. Maybe one of you guys can correct me in the comments section. But again, that's just adding depth and replayability to the game. And if I want to build supports by playing these paralogs instead of doing kind of the strolling activities, then yeah, I can definitely do that, because you can build supports as you kind of play through these paralogs as well, and as these side quests. So there's just like a really good mix of things you can do with this game. You can approach the same thing in different ways. You can take the more casual route with the strolls, or you can just jump right into the action with the venture and gain the same result. Or I guess you can just kind of do both, right? You can combine both. You can venture out, do the paralogs, but then you can also spend your stroll gauge building supports in the mess hall, because they both work in different ways. Rest is the last mechanic. You can just rest for the weekend and do nothing, and so you can just skip everything, refresh yourself, gain your motivation back. The students will come back with improved motivation as well, and they're right back to the weekdays, having a ton of energy to learn. So a lot of these new mechanics that have to do with the game, the two that I'm really partial about is managing the venture gauge, as well as being able to skip a lot of the kind of fluff that I might not really want to do based on my own time commitments, which is great. I think it would be pretty unfortunate if the game forced me to do all these things that I didn't want to do, that really aren't Fire Emblem-esque at all. But having that flexibility and that freedom to do so, which with seemingly not a lot of like negative consequences to it, works for me, boss. Then they talk about character profiles and personal skills. Ferdinand has confidence, Bernadetta has paranoia, Mercedes has live to serve, Ash has wisdom to live, which is like lock touch, Raphael has scavenger, user has a luck % chance to restore 10% HP at the start of each turn. I guess that was renewal, I wasn't really sure, but it's kind of like a luck based renewal. I think that's how it actually works. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just thinking about heroes. Did renewal have a luck base? I want to say yes. I want to say it did. That makes sense to me. I think renewal had a luck-based thing. Maybe it did. I forget. I'll have to read on it. Now, Lute here is kind of a meme right now. Lysithea has Prodigy. Experience points towards professor levels earned during battles is doubled. So she seems like a really, really smart girl. Looks like Lute. She seems to be a really popular character. Apparently her voice actress is pretty famous on the Japanese side of things. She did Futaba, which is cool. I have never played Persona. I thought it was just kind of a fun fact that's been all over Twitter lately. But she seems to have a really cool design, and people really, really like her. So all in all, what I'm excited about for this article and what we've learned about from Famitsu right now is the flexibility you have with venturing and strolling, and being able to just decide whether or not you want to do these things and skip the weekend events. And also the venturing. And these paralogs aren't kind of wastes of time that don't really do much. They add a lot of personality to these characters too, which is a very, very welcome change. And even though you're limited to one house, for at least for the early game, it seems like, that doesn't mean you never interact with other characters from the other houses or the teachers too, which I think is pretty neat. I'm hoping that towards the end of the game you get to unite with all the students and they all kind of band together. Or maybe there's going to be kind of a Fate's Conquest Birthright thing where if you don't pick a house, the conflict going on there is going to mean that you're going to fight that house. And then maybe the whole idea of a monastery is going to come crumbling to the ground. Or the Officers Academy, I mean. So let me know in the comments what mechanic that you're most excited about. Are you going to be more of a stroll guy or a venture guy? Are you excited about the whole stroll mechanic thing? Are you planning to go fishing? Are you planning to go gardening? That kind of thing. Let me know down below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment. If there's anything I got wrong, go ahead and let me know. I do read the comments. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy videos like this, go ahead and subscribe as well. And last, if you want to support this channel past just watching these videos, I do have a Patreon, which is linked down below. Pretty fun, pretty interactive, Discord rewards, but we do weekly Discord calls with myself and the patrons there. We also play games together, so it's really fun and interactive. If that's your cup of tea, then go ahead and check out the Patreon page too. Anyways, guys, hope you will enjoy a nice weekend. I'm Gas, and I will see you soon. Deuces.